There's a lot going on in the country right now, a lot of news, hot news. Things are really jumping off in the territory. So we got to talk to reporter Peter Gay Combs about the top story making the news this week. Peter Gay, what's up?
Hi, Edrenko. Well, the breaking news which dominated the local media landscape on Tuesday was the abrupt resignation of Chairman of the BVI Health Services Authority, John Klein. Emphasis, Edrenko, on abrupt because Mr. Klein's resignation came one day after he did a radio interview upon the instruction of the Premier. Now, in that radio interview, Bishop Klein agreed with a recommendation made by longtime NDP member Eileen Parsons that the financial portfolio should be separated from the Premier and moved instead to current Health Minister Ronnie Skelton, who previously served in that post. Bishop Klein also expressed reservations about the controversial expansion of the runway at the TB Letsum International Airport, which he basically said it isn't best to introduce that project at this time because of the financial challenges facing the country. Now, the bishop said while he was disappointed with the move by the Premier, he leaves it up to the public to determine whether or not he was being victimized. But at the end of the day, how he sees it is that it was a political disagreement between himself and the Premier, who told him in the conversation that they had that he was essentially uncomfortable with what was said in that radio interview. And this is what he told us here at JTB News.
It was shocking to me. We have made such great strides in healthcare. So I was appointed, now I'm being disappointed. And I'm disappointed that a brief conversation would trump all the years of support to a government. I've supported them financially, I've supported them vocally, I've lost members of my church because of my stand sometimes with the VIP, with the NDP. VIP members of my church have left my church because they felt that my support was too strong for them. And now?
Peter Gay, I'm just as shocked as Bishop Klein. I can't imagine what the government hopes to gain by asking for Bishop Klein's resignation. Of course, it's a democratic society. He's entitled to his opinion. And as he said, he's been a long-time supporter of the party. And certainly, I would have hoped that that could have been, smoothed over and polished up and kiss and make up. I think certainly Bishop Klein is entitled to his opinion, like everybody in the society. And if he feels that a project is not should not go forward at this time, that's an opinion. If he feels a portfolio needs to change, that's an opinion. Some people have that opinion, other people don't. So I don't see the real reason. I don't see what harm he did to the government by stating his opinion, and I don't see the real reason why it needed to have come to this. Did Bishop Klein felt any kind of victimization, political fallout? What kind of political fallout do you think he's feeling from this? What he thinks that will happen to, what you think will happen to the government's image as a result of his resignation? Is anyone saying, well, it's a bad thing to do? What you're hearing out in the street?
Well, on the streets, the reviews, the reactions have been mixed. Some persons say, well, essentially the Premier's hand was forced because as a public servant or, someone serving in the Premier's administration, this is a conversation that should have been had in private. It should not be had so publicly, while some persons are saying, basically, if we're in a democracy and there are issues of national interest that, are being discussed publicly, then why not weigh in, whether you're a public servant or not. There should not be such a high-handedness or heavy-handedness coming from the Premier by making it seem as if such discourse will not be tolerated or facilitated by him. And so going forward, Edru Enka, the question is, how will members of the public and public servants basically react to this move by the Premier going forward? Will we find them commenting more or less on issues of national interest? And what Mr. Klein said when we spoke to him essentially is that it's not really about him. At the end of the day, the NDP administration has far more to resolve than what he said publicly. Take a look.
It would be my hope that the men and women that we've elected, who I believe have good hearts and have the country at heart, they are business people, they are doctors, they are entrepreneurs, they're well-educated people. And I think we assembled a good team together and send them there to represent us. It's obviously a divided house. I would pray, honestly, that they get their act together. Getting John Klein out of the way is not going to help that.
Edru Enka, the Premier's response to why he had to ask Mr. Klein to resign is that his comments were essentially inappropriate, and what he requires from the persons in his administration is support and confidence.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Can it be considered that Bishop Klein is in the administration? Bishop Klein is a volunteer, and I have to stress volunteer because I've been a member of the BVI HSA, and trust me, it's a volunteer and it's hard work for no pay. I think when I was there, it was $500 for members and $1,000 for the chairman. And for the time and the intellect and all the reading and thought that you have to that you have to go through and the hassles, it's truly a service to the community. And I don't see it as Bishop Klein being in an administration. He's a volunteer giving a service to his country, and he has really no impact on policy. So I'm baffled by the whole thing, really, to tell you the truth. I don't think it had to come to this, and I'm hoping that going forward that things could be patched up and and smoothed over. And certainly I hate to see Bishop Klein leave the Health Service Authority, because I really believe that he was doing the best he could and he had the country's interests at heart. But that's the nature of politics, I guess. Some people see things differently, and others don't. But certainly a good report, and it was a great interview. Good piece you did there with Bishop Klein, and he was gracious enough to grant an interview. So I think you'll be hearing more and more from him. He's always been a person that speaks out, not in an offensive way, but certainly voices his opinion clearly and impartially, and so I think we'll be hearing more from him in the future. And I know for sure he's not intimidated.
That he definitely said to us, that he made clear, and our viewers can definitely look forward to more coming out of our interview with Mr. Klein this week.
Yeah, and we don't want the public to feel, Peter Gay, that they can't speak out. I think that potential fallout from that decision is really harmful to our territory, and I hope that persons don't really take that too seriously and continue to voice their opinion, because really we have a lot of intelligent people in the Virgin Islands, and they have a lot of good things to say, and they have criticisms. It's always good. You learn from criticism, you grow from criticism, and you make corrections from criticism. So I hope we don't stop criticizing.
Particularly in a healthy democracy.
Particularly in a healthy democracy. Thank you very much for that great report, Peter Gay.
You're welcome.
We're going to take a break for a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to come back with the Mr. Elmore Stout High School senior contestants, and along with coordinator of the pageant, Ms. Visa Smith. Don't go away. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by CCT BVI, Life Unlimited, and the National Bank of the Virgin Islands. the official Bank of Paradise.